Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. Well, we we're finally doing it. We are making a podcast about film club and all of the movies we've watched. And unfortunately, we are doing this a little bit later after what 30 plus movies we've already watched, but
Yeah, I
this will
think it's
just
been
be
like
a
over 40 now.
over 40. Man, I keep losing track. Every time I go on Letterboxd and I'm looking at our film club of the movies that we've done, I just have to keep clicking that button at the bottom where it says show more. And I'm like, holy crap, we've already watched a bunch of movies.
Seriously. Yeah, we've watched 45 so far.
45?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, this podcast, we're just gonna be discussing the movies that Cody and I have been watching over the course of what, 6 plus months, I would say so. I can't remember.
I think
It
something like
feels
that.
longer with the
Yeah.
amount of movies that we've watched, but and I guess to start this podcast, I just want to introduce myself. I am Nate Stevenson. I live in Texas, and I used to be a virgin when it came to movies, but Cody has helped me, I guess, grasp outside of uh, different genres and watch different movies, and it's been a really fun experience, and that's why we made Film Club because there's a lot of movies that we wanted to watch or he wanted to suggest, and so that's why we did this.
Yeah. It's been fun. I think well, first I'm Cody and I live in Bradenton, Florida. And we've always talked about movies, and I remember there was a point when you kept asking me like, "Hey, what movie should I watch tonight?" Or,
Yes,
should I watch this or whatever? Or and I would send you like a list of movies like, "Hey, you should watch these movies. I think you'd like them." And then I don't know, I don't even remember how we started the film club exactly.
I think you suggested it.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
yeah, I think I did. Um, and Yeah, and I think us both getting on Letterbox last year
Oh, Letterbox, please
kind of
sponsor us.
yeah.
Please
I think
sponsor us.
I think that was a big part of it too because I feel like ever since we both were on Letterbox, I think that it just kind of it it made us watch more movies, and then it made us more excited to talk about movies that we're watching and all that.
Oh, hell yeah.
So,
And for those who don't know, Letterbox is like a rating system for like movies. I mean, maybe you know a little bit more detail of describing it if you want to go more into what Letterbox is.
well, it's kind of like I feel like it's a lot like IMDb, but just I feel like it's more social, and
Hmm.
it's fun to follow your friends, and when you watch a movie or rewatch a movie or write a review for a movie or whatever, and when you go search for whatever movie you're looking for, and you'll see like all your friends like ratings of the movie pop up, so you could see like what your friends thought of it and things like that, and you can make lists and you have watch lists and everything. So
I think that's the biggest one that I have is my watch list because there's a lot of
mhm.
movies that I need to watch. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like a social networking app, for movie lovers, and it's like you said, it's fun to watch movies and then go and see people that you follow and what they think of it, and it just seems more of like a community-based
hmm,
movie film critic, atmosphere, and that's what I really enjoy about it.
yeah, I love it. I
So,
tell everyone about it and try to get
oh, same.
everyone I know to use it because I just think it's just so fun, and um,
The different perspectives, that's what I enjoy about it. So,
yeah, yeah, agreed.
and
And a lot
especially
of
like
times,
if a new movie comes out as well, and
mhm,
you want to see like what other people think of it before you see it, or like even after you see it first, and then what people review afterwards. It's a good app. So
yeah,
download it if you haven't.
yeah,
Letterbox.
yep,
Letterboxd. Letterbox.
Hell yeah! And you can follow us on Letterboxd, and we have the list. We have a list of all the movies that we've watched so far, um, and we'll continue to add to it so you can keep up with the movies that are in the film club. And we both have our ranking list as well. And I feel like the more movies that we watch, the harder it is for me to
Yes.
rank them because there's just so many and it's tough, but it's fun.
And it's a wide variety of genres that we watch too. So, you have some of these action movies where you're like, oh man, I loved every single minute of this. But then you watch more of like a deep story that maybe we're going to discuss today with Harakiri and Lost in Translation, where, you get that different perspective. And then it gets really hard to kind of, putting them side by side. It's like, well, I really like this, but this had some good things. So the rating system is getting tougher with the more movies we watch.
Yeah. Yep. But it's been fun. So we're excited to keep doing it.
And we'll link all those details, our letterbox stuff, like our usernames, and especially our film club list on Letterbox in our profile page, so people can follow it, like you mentioned before. So
and I think we made a Twitter page as well
yes,
that you can follow.
all social networking
Yeah.
except Facebook.
Yeah.
Except Facebook.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Facebook is cancer. Or
Sorry, Grandma, Grandpa. You'll have to go on Twitter.
yeah. Yep.
Well, awesome. So the first thing I wanted to discuss was, we with this whole coronavirus situation. You know, 2019, there was a lot of movies that came out. There's a lot of enjoyable films that were really, thought provoking and everything. And then so far this year with coronavirus, it's really it's depressing to see that, I've only seen like a third of the movies that I've been able to see compared to 2019. So what are your thoughts on, do you think movie theaters are eventually going to open, or do you think they should just start releasing some of these movies on video on demand, or what do you think?
I think both. I mean, I definitely want movie theaters to open, but I wish that they would release more movies on demand because it seems like, especially with things getting crazier,
Mm-hmm.
right before they thought that movie theaters are going to open, and they keep pushing back Tenet, and
Yeah,
I
we
still
both
want.
live in hotspot states, so.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. The one thing that I was most excited for is it seemed like we were going to be able to go to the movie soon, and every day that goes by, it seems like that's
Yeah.
less likely to happen very soon.
Yeah, July 3rd, they were supposed to open our theater, and they were showing how
Yeah.
Cinemark was going to be, spraying down the chairs, which has me a little concerned why they maybe didn't do that in the very beginning, but it's okay. It's a different situation now, so. But yeah, I'm right there. Like,
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
yeah, it is. It is crazy.
But it would have been like such a good movie to see like an IMAX and that theater experience. Christopher Nolan, just that's a movie you want to see in the theater.
Right.
But
And that's one, even if movie theaters don't open until like a year from now, like I would be okay with, waiting a year to see. I mean, obviously I want to go as soon as possible, but I want to see Tenet in theaters. But with some of these other movies like
Black Widow,
Black Widow, or I don't even know. I feel like I've lost track. Like I knew all the
no,
movies
same.
that were supposed to come out, and I haven't been keeping track of everything.
Quiet Place 2.
Quiet Place 2. They should just release that on VOD. Like I would rent it and watch it.
You probably have some Sundance movies that
Yeah.
definitely are now on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, First Cow just came out. I do want to watch that.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of articles about that. I want to watch that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looks good.
What is First Cow about again?
Honestly, I don't really remember.
Hey, that's okay. That makes that experience even better.
Yeah.
Going into a movie having no idea what it's about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just know it's about a cow. I know it's a Kelly. What's her name? Kelly Richard or whatever. I don't know how to say it. I don't remember her last name, but um, she directed Meek's Cutoff and
Okay.
um, a few other movies that people love. I actually haven't seen any of her movies before, so I'm excited to see that one, and I do want to go back and watch some of her other movies. Um, but yeah, we've gotten some decent movies that have come out on VOD or Netflix and things like that, but it's just been
Defy Bloods. I still need to watch that, but
yeah, yeah, it was pretty good. Um, I liked it. I don't think it wasn't it wasn't great, but there's a lot that I really loved about it. It was kind of messy, but it was a good movie. It was definitely one of I think it's one of Spike Lee's better movies. Um, but I enjoyed it.
yeah,
Ever
that's what I've
had?
been hearing from some people, and especially looking at some reviews.
Hmm.
So it still looks really interesting. It's one of those movies that I want to watch.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at my 2020 list on Letterboxd, and
It's small.
there's not very many, and a lot of them are not that good.
Yeah, that's
Like,
so true. When I was looking at them, I'm like, man, my number one movie was like what, like a 3 star, 3.5 or 4 or something like that. I'm like, I want some of that 4.5 or up.
hmm yeah,
Enjoyable movie still. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
nothing like Parasite or
yeah.
um, like those types of movies where it's like, oh wow.
hmm Yeah, I'm ready for some more movies. Uh, I'm
Oh,
excited for the new uh, what's that movie called? I'm thinking of Ending Things movie by Charlie Kaufman. It's coming to Netflix. I think in September. So that's like the next movie that I'm looking forward to. But other than that, like I
I
don't
like
know what else is coming out.
yeah, I agree. I lost ideas of what other movies are coming out. I can't even remember.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It's
just
mostly like those
it's
big
weird,
brand names like Disney or something like that that I kind of
right?
remember, but mostly everything else I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah. It's been weird.
But speaking of video on demand movies, we did have the opportunity to watch a brand new one that came out on Hulu,
We
which was
did.
Palm Springs with Andy Samberg and Kristen. Can't remember her last name, but at least I remember her first name.
That's good enough. Let's see if I can.
So, it reminds me of Happy Death Day.
Uh huh.
But after I saw that movie, what it really reminded me of was Russian Doll on Netflix.
Okay.
Because, you have Happy Death Day, just that movie perspective, but Russian Doll, I feel like the similarities of like what the character's going through and like I guess like their persona and like how they act is just very similar to like the actress in Russian Doll. And that's why
Yeah.
I think I really enjoyed Palm Springs,
Yeah.
just because of how funny it was and just that dark humor in a
hmm
sense.
Yeah, I loved the humor in it, and I loved all the performances. I thought Andy Samberg was awesome, and J.K. Simmons was a nice
It's
surprise.
so good.
I don't think I even knew he was in it, and then it was so fun watching him in the movie, and his his relationship with Andy Samberg's character
Oh, exactly.
was awesome. Um,
I think his name in the movie was Roy.
yeah, Roy. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
But
pretty.
what was like a scene to you that you thought was like super funny,
Um, I mean,
or like a
I,
scene that really caught your attention?
I don't want to. I don't want to. Well, I think that this may. I can't remember if this is in the trailer or not, but I thought that when it first shows him and Roy when he goes out with
Yeah.
uh what what's her name, the Sarah,
Yeah.
when they go out like that in the beginning of the movie, and then Roy comes up with his bow and arrow and is chasing him, and she's like, "What the hell's going on?" I just thought it was just caught me off guard and thought that was really funny. Um, and I just really liked uh, like every morning when Andy Samberg would wake up and his interaction with his girlfriend. I thought was really funny,
Yeah.
and like you could just see in his face that he's done this thousands of times.
Oh, over and over.
Over and over and over again.
And it that like thinking about that as the movie progresses, and then you think about like the beginning of the movie
Uh,
where he can't get off like when they're having sex. It just makes like that scene even funnier
yeah, yeah.
because he's
It's
probably like, I can't even do this anymore.
it's so funny, and it's funny to me
The
that he.
opening scene was so funny.
Uh huh. And it
My
was funny
rain,
to
my
me that he
rain,
did.
my rain.
Uh, yeah. It
I
was.
love Andy Samberg. He's so funny. I really enjoy seeing him in these types of movies. Just
Hmm. Yeah, he's great. Did you ever see Pop Star? Never Stop Stopping or whatever.
I think I started it, but I didn't finish it. But that's definitely a movie that I do want to
It's
watch.
it's pretty funny. It's ridiculous, but I thought that movie was really funny. Um, Definitely need to watch that again.
But you want to know what's kind of funny of something that because I knew I've seen the actress Kristen Milioti from somewhere,
Hmm.
and when I was looking her up, do you know what she's from that you might remember?
Isn't she in? Wasn't she in The Wolf of Wall Street?
She was, but
Okay,
there was something else that she was in.
really?
It's kind of yeah.
I don't know.
She was in Black Mirror, that episode
Oh.
USS Callister. And if you
Oh.
think about that episode, it's kind of similar to
Yeah,
this movie. So I was like, oh crap,
that's
that's kind of
true.
interesting that she
Huh.
has that same kind of role
That's
where
right.
she's stuck in this void, and she can't get out, and then eventually, yeah, it's just a Black Mirror's good as well. I
Yeah,
really watch
that's
that show.
that might be one. That might be if it's not my favorite, is one definitely one of my favorite episodes of Black Mirror. I love that
Hmm.
episode.
It was a really good episode to start the season too.
Yeah, it was great. So fun.
And we're probably living in a Black Mirror episode right now, or a season. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. It yeah, we're living it.
was there anything else that you kind of grabbed your attention about Palm Springs,
Um,
or did you want to jump into
I I really just I liked it a lot. I thought it was funny, and even
short and
though
sweet?
we've seen like I feel like I've seen a million of these Groundhog Day movies, like Happy Death
Hmm.
Day, and uh, like Source Code, and I don't even know, but there's been so many of these movies, and I think that this one was able to still feel fresh, and it had a unique take on it, and it was just fun, and I would definitely watch it again.
Oh,
And
I would too.
I would rate it a 3.5 out of 5. I really
Three and a
liked
half
it.
out of five.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. And I think maybe if I watched it again, it could be a 4 out of 5. But it's a really fun movie that I would definitely recommend checking out.
It was definitely a short and sweet movie. I really enjoyed those movies where it feels like a perfect length. And that's what I felt like about this movie. And that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5, just because of that. I feel like every point they were making in the movie really came off strong. And I mean, it did have like a little slow areas, but still the purpose of the movie and I guess the storytelling of it was really good. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was really funny, especially that opening scene. So,
For sure. Sweet.
well, so this week we watched two movies, and that's probably what we're gonna do for the film club for these people that want to follow along with us. We watch about two movies a week. Sometimes we might watch a little bit more, but usually two movies is what we watch each week. So the movies that we watched was Harakiri and Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
And
So, um, and we both each week or whatever. Well, we don't have like a. There's no real set schedule, but whenever we've watched both the movies that we both chose, then we'll move on to the next ones. But maybe when with starting the podcast, maybe we'll get on somewhat of a regular schedule or something. But I imagine that we'll probably do the podcast probably sometime over the weekend.
Yeah.
Each week or something like that. But we'll figure it out. And when we pick movies, sometimes we pick all kinds of things, like you were saying, and sometimes we'll pick movies that neither of us have seen, but for whatever reason we want to watch, or a classic movie that we know that we're supposed to watch, according to everyone in the world or whatever. Because there's some of these movies that I'm like, dang. And being on Letterboxd, I realize how many movies I really need to see.
I agree.
And so there's movies like that, and then sometimes I'll pick a movie that maybe I've seen, or one of my favorite movies that Nate hasn't seen, and I just want him to watch it and talk about it. So, but this week we both chose movies that I don't think neither of us have seen before. You haven't seen Lost in Translation before this, right?
No, I have not.
And I've never seen Harakiri before. But you know what I realized as I was reading up on the movie, for some reason, before I watched it, I was like, I feel like I did try to watch this one time or something. But what it was is Takashi Miike, he made a remake of this movie.
Yeah, I saw when I was looking this movie up.
Yeah, he made a remake called Harakiri something.
Wasn't it like 3D or something like that?
Yeah, it was in 3D. Yeah. It was in 3D. Yeah, it's called Harakiri Death of a Samurai. It came out in 2011. And I think that I watched that, or maybe I started it, because I don't really remember it very well. But I kind of want to go back and watch it again now, because I really enjoyed watching the original one. And I've liked some of Takashi Miike's movies. He's made tons of movies, and they're not all great, but he has some great movies like Audition, and there's another samurai movie that he did in 2010 called 13 Assassins that I really loved. So he has some good movies, but anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny, because I knew that
you've seen it from somewhere.
Yeah, I think I've seen it, but anyway, so Harakiri was directed by, the original one came out in 1962 and was directed by Masaki Kobayashi. And excuse my pronunciations of any of these names, because I know I'm probably going to get some of them wrong, but I'll do my best. And I haven't seen any of his movies before either, but I know that I've heard of the Human Condition trilogy and a few other movies that he's done that I've heard are really great, that I definitely want to check out too. But this movie takes place between 1619 and 1630, I believe.
Yes.
And the main character, his name is Hashiro Sugumo. do you know how to say it? I don't know how to say it.
Hanshiro Sugumo.
Okay, that's
I'm gonna try my best as well. So
yeah, that's good. Sounds better than me. So
I think the faster you speak, the more authentic it sounds. So
yes. So he's described as being a warrior without a lord, and like a Ronin, and he goes to this palace, this courtyard, which now I can't see what the name of the other guy, but he goes there to request to commit harakiri or seppuku, to kill himself, and where did this go? Shoot. And so he goes there, and the lord there, what's his name? Do you remember his name? I'm looking for it now.
The guy, the person that's the
like leader there. I'm looking
Sayato Kaigayo.
Yeah,
he's like the senior counselor.
Yeah. senior counselor. So he goes there to talk to him to um, to do harakiri there in the courtyard, and he tells him the story of uh, Matome. Oh, and also um, before we keep going, uh, spoiler alert: we're definitely gonna get into spoilers on with these movies, with this one, and I'm sure Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be spoiled, turn it off and watch the movie. But if you don't care, just keep listening. And whenever we talk about new movies, like I don't think we really spoiled Palm Springs, and I think we'll try to
No, there's still a lot
not.
more details about it.
Yeah, we'll try not to spoil new movies when we watch them. But I think with the film club, I think we're probably most of the time gonna spoil the hell out of them. So just so you know, I'll try to remember to always say that though, just in case. So let's see. So he's telling him the story of Matome. Uh, Not even going to try to say his last name, but Matome, who was, I believe it, he was Hashiro's son-in-law, right?
Yes, son-in-law.
So he's a son-in-law, and he tells him the story of him, and he came to perform a harakiri, and and it and it shows these flashbacks of when he came to do that, and it was really, I didn't really know where the story was going in the beginning, and watching what happened with him was really, is kind of dark
Yeah,
and scary. Like it almost felt like a horror movie at times. Like it was just so, like the build up was slow,
the
and he,
realism inside of it.
yeah, and so he, he has to do it, and then he kind of changed his mind, and he requested that he could take a couple days before he did it. He like wanted to go home, and they wouldn't let him do that, and so they pretty much forced him. So they're in the courtyard and they're forcing him to do it. And before that, when they looked at his swords, he came with these bamboo swords, and they they made him perform a harakiri with his bamboo swords. And watching him do that was so,
Yeah,
it
because
was,
he can't do it. It's supposed
yeah,
to be like it's supposed to be a quick process,
right,
but it's one of those situations where it's a slow, painful death that you're witnessing, and it's like, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it took him forever to do it. And then there's a point even when he's doing it, and the second, I don't remember his name, but there's these three guys, three samurai that are just pretty much just, they're just all just big assholes, and they
it
force
is
him to go.
Hayato, Umusuke, and Hakukuro were the three samurai that coerced Motome to suicide.
Yes, and um, you know they were making fun of him for bringing the bamboo swords and everything, and they knew um, I mean, they knew that he wasn't going to be able to do it with his bamboo sword. And then the one that was his second, that was going to, cut his head off once he's completed cutting across his stomach both ways, he would cut his head off. But he wasn't able to cut himself. And then he looks to him, and he like I can't remember what he said exactly, but he kind of begged him, like, finish me, man. Like,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
let's get this over with. Like, I'm done. I can't. And he just told him, he's like, no, keep going. And he told him before, he's like, I'll do it once I'm satisfied with with how you've cut yourself, pretty much. And so it was just really it was really intense, and it just felt really like slow. Like the build up to that was really slow, and
Humiliating,
he
especially like in that time perspective as
oh yeah,
well. Because when you
extreme.
think of like samurai swords, just like reading about it, the reason why this house it's the House of Lee. They were enraged that he would pawn his soul, essentially, that the samurai would get rid of his blades. And so I think from that perspective, they're looking at it as, this code of samurai. Like, how could you ever do this? And so, in a
Hmm.
sense of punishment, they're like, yeah, well, you're gonna have to do this now.
Yeah, Yeah, it was pretty messed up, pretty dark. Um, and was there anything else in that begin? Because that's kind of the like first 30 minutes of the movie. Is there anything else that I'm missing, or anything else that you thought about the beginning of it?
Well, I mean, I just really liked how they started the beginning of this movie where this master, the senior counselor, is telling the story like, man, can you believe like this happened? And I think just it really starts off telling you the reason why, these people are wanting to go perform Harakiri and stuff is because they want to be turned away um, and get money out of it. So like
Right.
these people go to these neighboring houses and they're like, "Hey, I want to perform it," and these people don't really want this happening, so
Mm-hmm.
they just give them money to turn them away. And so that's why this one house was kind of seeing the rise of suicide bluffs, and they were kind of annoyed by it. So like, okay, yeah, you have to do it, and that's why uh, Matome was like, actually, hey, can I go like for 1 to 2 days? Like, I'll be back, but let me just, because he probably was having a little bit. And then obviously, second half of the movie explains a little bit more detail
Mm-hmm.
about it.
And that's one thing I loved about it too, is just like how the movie reveals
Hmm.
itself and reveals different parts of the story. And it's a slow movie, and it's a samurai movie, but there's not a whole lot of action. There's some at the end that was really cool,
Yeah,
but it's slow, and there's almost no action throughout the whole movie. But I thought the pacing was really well done
I
in
did
the
too.
movie, and just the way they
It's
start.
134 minutes, but it definitely didn't feel like it.
No, it didn't. Um, like especially after the beginning. It took me a little bit to um, for it to really kind of grasp me, but once I got into it, like I was fully on board, and like I was just interested throughout the whole movie and wanted to know where it was going. And you find out later, why. Um, well, okay. So then after that, after uh, he reveals the story of Matome, um, the main character. Then, he's going through with his harakiri, and he's acting like he's just here to do that, and that he wants to or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you start to get, and that's when you start getting more of the story, and um, so it starts showing some flashbacks, and he's telling the story to the people in the courtyard, because when he's asked to name his second to cut his head off, he names those three guys, which you named, and I don't have their names in front of me, but those guys. He names the first one, and then they're looking for him, and they're like, "Oh, he's out sick today," and they're like, "Oh, okay, weird." And so then he
Just
names.
the way that he did it too, the
Uh-huh.
oh, wow, what a shame. Well, what about this guy?
Yeah, and you knew right away that
You
something
did.
was up. Like you're like, what did he do? And especially after the second one, you're like, okay. And then once he names the third one, then everyone that's there, they all know. They're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like, how are they all gone? He's like, obviously he's messing with us, and he has some plan up his sleeves. He's not here to perform harakiri. He's here
And
for
the
something
senior
else.
counselors, they can kind of tell from that. They're like,
Oh yeah.
what do we do with this? Oh, we just have him do how to carry. Like, just forget
Hmm.
about it. I don't even want to deal with this anymore.
Right. Yeah. So they just try to they're like, we'll just let him go through with it, and they try to tell him that he's just gonna have to pick someone else. And uh, I can't remember what his response was, but I'm pretty sure didn't. What did
Well,
he
he
say?
was, well, the senior counselor was just getting annoyed by the whole situation. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like,
So,
perform it or we're going to kill you or something. And he was like, well, I'm going to fight back and you're going to lose men. So let me just tell my story and then I'll perform the Harakiri afterwards. And so
oh
then
yeah,
that's why
yeah,
the
yeah, that's
senior
right.
counselor was like, okay, I don't want any of my men in this clan to die. So yeah, go ahead. But after you're done, you're performing this Harakiri. No more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So so that's when he's telling his story, and he's basically telling him why he's there, and he talks about Matome and um and
The
how,
relationship they had.
yeah, and I can't remember now that we're talking about it. I can't remember the beginning when he is talking about Matome and how he took him with him because his dad died, right?
Yeah.
What happened to his dad again?
I can't
Remember?
remember.
There's some things that are now I'm thinking of, I'm like, ah, it's a blur what happened exactly. But he promised that he would take care of Matome, and um and so he, took him under his wing, and he had a daughter, and so they fell in love, um and they had a kid
Oh,
together.
yeah. So what it was Hanshiro's closest friend performed seppuku
Yeah,
and left a letter like basically saying that, hey, like I'm giving you guardianship over my teenage son Motome. So not only was Motome his son-in-law, but also was like, he had to protect and watch over his, closest friend's son. And
right.
so that's why, like, as you're learning this in the very beginning of the storytelling, you're like, oh no, dude. And you like just witness in the very beginning of this movie, like how he died by bamboo, basically.
Yeah.
And the pain was so bad that, like, didn't he bite off his tongue or whatever? It's
Yes,
just
yeah, he bit off his tongue. Yeah.
so like this whole time, like they're talking about this, and you're like seeing like this whole beginning of the story that he's telling you, like you just keep thinking back of seeing him perform Harakiri, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like you already know what happened to Matome, and it's even more, you know, saddening to think about, and then you
Yeah.
find out that he marries Matome. Matome marries like Hanshiro's daughter, and then just the whole story is just.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's when you find out why he came to perform Harakiri, and
Hmm.
that he wasn't really planning on it. But yeah, he like you were talking about how they would just give people money to turn him away so they wouldn't do it, and he was hoping to get money because their baby was super sick.
Yeah, because they
And
were already pawned basically everything because
hmm
Maiho, like the daughter, she was sick as well.
yeah, yeah, she was sick. Baby was super sick, and they just felt so they were hopeless, and there was like nothing that they could do. Like you could tell there was nothing that they could do. They had no money. They've already pawned everything, like you said, and they needed they needed for this baby to see a doctor, uh, and they weren't able to do that. And so he thought of doing doing that to go and pretend like he wanted to perform harakiri, um, and hopefully get turned away and give him money, but that didn't happen.
And then yeah, they come back the next day because this whole time they were worried why he didn't come back, and they presented his dead body from this clan, and they were mocking him like he had bamboo, and Hanshiro was like, "What? If I would have known that he pawned his bamboo like swords, I would have like done something." And it's sad. It's sad to see the whole turn of events, like, and then the baby eventually dies, and
And
so does
his
so
daughter,
yeah.
daughter
So
and baby.
everybody pretty much passes away from that whole situation, and so he just loses everything.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he lost everything and everyone, and uh yeah, it's sad. Um and so and we find out what he did to those three guys.
Yeah. Yep.
For a while, like you're kind of wondering like what exactly happened. And he didn't you find that he didn't kill him, or did he kill one of them, or no? I can't
I don't think he killed any of them. I think
Okay,
he
he just
just,
cut off their top knots.
which is very dishonorable.
Yeah. Well, and then then they ended up having to, in the end, they had to perform Harakiri themselves, because I think partly due to that, like because they were humiliated like that, and it's almost, it's worse like having your top knot cut off, or like having your sword taken, things like that, or
The culture aspect of it.
yeah, it's so it's so bad. So they ended up having to kill themselves because he cut off their top knots. Oh yeah, and he had the top knots with him.
Yeah, and he's throwing them on the ground in front of the
Yeah.
senior counselor, and that whole scene. And he described it in flashbacks like of his battles with them,
Uh-huh.
and I loved the final, like the scene where he was talking about the third person he battled, that senior
Yeah.
samurai guy, where they're in, it looks like the hillside and the wind is blowing, and
Mm-hmm.
even though this is a black and white film, it was just filmed amazing. Like I loved every scene, like how slow like the action scenes were with them having this little samurai sword fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked awesome. It was really cool, and the cinematography throughout the whole movie was really cool. Like even just in, like in the courtyard, like this place that was, it's just like a lot of it is just filmed inside, but there
Hmm.
was just some interesting like ways that, like with the way that the camera moved, and there was like some zooms and stuff that were it
Yeah,
was
I
cool.
noticed that.
Like even though there's these really still moments where everyone is just standing or sitting and just talking, like the camera kind of made it feel like there's movement from the camera that kept it little bit more engaging visually, I think. Just that
No,
was
that's so
that's
true.
cool.
The one thing that, like, when I was reading about this movie and I was looking at more details about it, there was one article I came across, and it was from Roger Ebert. He's a film critic in Chicago, and he said that samurai films are like westerns, need not to be a familiar genre story. They can expand to contain stories of ethical challenges and human tragedy. In some of the movies that we've watched, in the past, like in the film club, um, some Western movies that we've watched, and then now watching some of these samurai, like you can really see some of those uh, similarities that these genres have, and
Mm-hmm.
how the human tragedy aspect in it, and then there's perspectives that they're living in, and the environment. It's just it's hard, and I
Yeah.
think that's why a lot of times I'm drawn to those types of movies. It's just because it feels realistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting seeing the difference between how um, how the main character in Hanshiro and his family, like how they lived, and how they the Matome was willing to risk having to kill himself to
Yeah.
possibly save his baby, since
And then you find out that's why he wanted those 1 to 2 days, because he wanted to go back and tell
yeah,
his family that, hey, wasn't able to get the money. Like, now I'm actually gonna have to perform Harakiri, but I wanted to say goodbye, but
right,
he wasn't able to.
yeah, yeah, and just the difference between that and um, the antagonist and the people living in the courtyard and everything just is so different. Um, and I was reading, there was a quote from the director Kobayashi where he said all of my pictures are concerned with resisting an entrenched power. That's what Harakiri is about, of course, and rebellion as well. I suppose I've always challenged authority. And it sounds like a lot of his movies have a lot of that in it. Um, and the end, there's something about uh, the way where when it ends, and he well, in the end he ends up fighting everyone there. Um, there's a big action sequence where everyone goes after him. He's the people are told to cut him down, and he fights him, and I think he killed
He
like
kills four, and I think
four.
he wounds
Yeah,
like six or
yeah,
whatever, like severely.
yeah. So he killed a few of them and hurt a bunch of them, and he lasted a long time.
Yeah,
Um, and he didn't get to kill. Uh, what's his name? What
the senior,
this? Yeah,
senior.
the senior guy didn't get to kill him or anything like that, and I don't feel like he necessarily got. Well, I mean, he got revenge in the sense that he humiliated those three guys and cut off their top knots and everything. I
Yeah,
thought that was pretty good revenge. And he didn't even have to kill them, so that was cool. But it was I feel like he was able to send a message and um, just
hopefully the message was taught.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't
that's
know
what's
what do
crazy
you,
about the end is they just clean everything up
yeah.
and
Yeah, how the ending is. For a second, like I almost thought that the senior was like I almost thought that he was like that he was almost learning something. Like I thought that he was gonna be better a little bit or something. But I'm like, no, he's just trying to cover this all up. And he told everyone like basically nothing happened here. And he told
people were
everyone,
just sick.
yeah, he said that those three guys that they were all just sick and like no one could know what happened to them because of how terrible it was that, that their top knots were cut off and that they had to commit harakiri. Uh, that they just were sick and died, and everything's all good. Like nothing happened. So it was the way it ended was interesting. Was there anything else? Like I feel like there's more like in the ending that I'm probably
I
missing.
think in the ending, one thing that kind of grabbed my attention where I was like, ah, that's not fair, is when the guys came with guns and shot him or whatever after he
Yeah.
threw the samurai.
Uh huh.
Like they're what? I would like their idol or their shrine, like their samurai
That
shrine that was a part of
armor.
that house he threw to the ground. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really awe-inspiring. But then
Hmm.
when they brought out the guns and they shoot, I'm like, come on, that's not fair, bro. Like this whole
Yeah.
time they've been using swords, and then now you have to kill them
We pull out the rifles
with
and
some
stuff.
muskets or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
But there was one scene that, like, when you were talking, that I was like thinking about is like, the fact that they were cleaning up in the courtyard and they're, scraping the rocks, making it look nice. And one of the guys that was cleaning up, he picks up one of the top knots.
Oh.
And I was like, man, that's just kind of crazy. Like that guy, even though he's trying to like forget about it and they're trying to like move on or whatever, he's gonna remember that.
Hmm.
Like all those people in the house are gonna know what happened.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
who knows what exactly is gonna happen in that house from years on and everything, like
Hmm.
how they react to everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what grabbed my attention at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And this movie, it's an 8.7 out of 10 on IMDb. It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It only has like 6 reviews, but it has 100%. And then on Letterboxd, it has a 4.5. And you can watch this movie on Criterion Collection. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
I'll
you can rent it, but it's a
hmm.
really good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black and white subtitles, obviously, but if you've seen Parasite or other foreign movies, subtitles aren't an issue.
Yeah. And you haven't seen have you seen any like samurai movies like this from like that era?
I haven't, so this was like
This
a
is your
good,
first one,
this is
and
like a good starting point.
yeah, it was a good movie, and I'm excited to watch like some of Akira Kurosawa's movies with you, like Seven Samurai. You know, I'm sure at some point we'll watch some of those. And there's still a lot of those that I haven't seen. I've only really seen a few, but the guy who I guess that this was based on a novel, but the guy who
Okay.
wrote the screenplay, I was looking at all of his credits on IMDb, and he wrote a bunch of Akira Kurosawa's movies like Rashomon and
Oh,
Ikiru,
nice.
um, Throne of Blood. I feel like there's some. Oh, The Hidden Fortress, The Bad Sleep Well, The Magnif. Oh yeah, yeah. So he wrote a ton of movies. He has so many
Well, in
credits.
this movie, it won what award again did it win?
I think it premiered at uh, a quick search. Um, and it,
It premiered in the
I get that.
1963 Cannes Film Festival.
It's a good. It's a good movie. To, oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
No. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, I got disconnected for a second. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry about that little technical
Sorry.
difficulty.
Yeah, I got disconnected and I asked you something, and then I'm like, oh shoot, I think we got disconnected.
But we were just talking about the film. It was the Cannes Festival or whatever in 1963.
Yeah, I think it won like the whatever the or whatever. I thought it was perfect. It was the whole time. I thought the acting, the photography was great, and it was just a great, definitely, and it was definitely it left me thinking about it. Wow.
Same. Even like talking about it right now, it's having me think about the movie again and
Yeah.
how down the road I would love to watch it again.
Yeah. Good stuff. I'm glad.
Well, same. I'm glad that we watched it too, and it was a good start for me to watch like a samurai movie like this.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But the next movie we watched was Lost in Translation. That has Scarlett Johansson, it has Bill Murray, and it was directed by Sofia Coppola, if I pronounced her name correct. Um, but it premiered in August 29th,
Yes.
2003 at the Telluride Film Festival, and it was viewed as a critical and commercial success. And, it was a really good movie. It's kind of interesting because both of these movies kind of take place in Japan. Obviously, way different um, time ar- time areas and everything like that. But this movie was a 7.7 on IMDb, had a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it had a 3.9 on Letterboxd. And this is one of those that you have to rent. It wasn't on any of their streaming platforms. But the one thing like I kept thinking about this movie was just how, Bill Murray kind of know his whole movies and all that he's been in and stuff, but it was really nice to see a young Scarlett Johansson play this role, and I thought she did a really good job. And what's interesting is this movie it won an Oscar for Best Writing and Screenplay, Golden Globe winner of Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical, Golden Globe for Best Actor and Screenplay. And then, she's a female director for this movie and the writer. And shout out to women. They make really good movies.
Yeah. And she's Francis Ford Coppola's daughter.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know if I've seen any of her other movies, but I definitely want to check other stuff after watching this. This is another one of those movies that I've always wanted to watch, and I've never seen it. And I thought it was really good. And I agree. Scarlett Johansson was great in the movie, and Bill Murray, of course. I love Bill Murray.
Just their connection, like
Mm-hmm.
as actors, and it just they seem so well together, and that's what I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciated. It's so weird because, my mind perspective, like I think of like the current Scarlett Johansson, but seeing her like as a young Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray like during that time, I feel like they did such a good job with each other.
Yeah.
And there was one thing that I was reading about how the director, she was saying that she loves that hotel they filmed in, and
Mm.
it's like one of her favorite places in the world. So that's why
And
they filmed there. And I loved how that's the only area that you really felt those scenes. I mean, obviously they had some other separate scenes where they're
uh-huh.
like going around the
They
city
go
or
out.
whatever, but majority of the time
Yeah.
it's taking place in this hotel. And I
Yeah.
loved, Scarlett Johansson looking over the city in Japan and the busyness, but she doesn't feel that way. And so, you're seeing these two people in Japan, because that's like the whole plot of this movie is basically Bill Murray's character. He is going to Tokyo. He's kind of like a late actor, kind of like past his prime. And so he went to Tokyo to promote for an advertisement some whiskey, Suntory whiskey. And he's been married for like 25 years and he's kind of like at a midlife crisis just because people look at him and are like, "Oh, hey, you're that actor that." I think Scarlett Johansson makes a joke like, "My parents really enjoyed you or whatever," because he's kind of that old or whatever. And, then you have Scarlett Johansson's, she's a young college graduate and she's accompanying her husband, that's a photographer in Japan. So both of these people, they're in an environment that they're not familiar with and they're trying to find that connection. And in result, they are able to have this connection. Scarlett Johansson's character and Bill Murray, they're able to have this connection through this hopelessness and maybe, lost in translation, kind of what the movie's about. So,
Like, and it just felt like they were so foreign and so different. And there's always talking to his wife and she's like, um, she said something about like, I'm sure that's fun, or I having fun, or whatever. And he's like, not, but it's different. And it felt like it felt so fish out of water. And I thought that it was kind of interesting what they did with some of the like the Japanese characters and like some of the. I feel like it really leaned into a lot of like racial stereotypes. That was kind of
yeah,
interesting and funny, but I think it kind of added to the fish out of water
yeah.
feeling in a weird way. Like that scene in the
Like,
beginning when uh stalking, he's like, and there's like an ongoing thing where they um, but yeah, I like their characters a lot. I think that Bill Murray, and I really like, he just seemed bad, was a big movie star. Like he's not really anymore. He's out here doing commercial, whatever, and feels feels kind of. I think that Scarlett Johansson's character brought out like she brought so much out of him, and I think that I just love how just that they were together and just in how what they did with each other, and I
the
also like how,
karaoke,
yeah, it was just like I
heartwarming.
yeah, I believed. I feel like it was believable to me. And I like how it introduced both characters in the beginning of the movie, and you get to know both of them before they even meet. Like it takes a while for them to even really meet each other, and you see them see each other a couple times.
Yeah.
But you get to know both of their characters, and you kind of figure out a little bit about both of them, and they're both kind of struggling in their marriages. Um, and Yeah, like her husband and
Her husband's gone, leaves her, and then he, is, in that long marriage and everything. So, he's trying to decide what he wants to do from now on. And, his wife is sending him like color ideas for his office. And he's like, I don't really, he has that midlife crisis. He doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. So,
mm-hmm.
but just like the scenes when they were together, the karaoke scene, or when they're having like a intimate conversation, like when they're both talking about their struggles and everything, or it's very heartwarming to see the different perspectives, even though their age is different, but they're both experiencing the same thing. And then, just especially the end, where, he has to leave, and they say their goodbyes, but, he feels unsatisfied with that. So as
Mm-hmm.
Bob is going home, he sees her walking in a crowded street, and he stops her, they embrace, and then they kiss. And it was like that whole lead up, that whole movie. You knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like every scene, you're like, okay, is this going to be it? Like, are they finally going to kiss? Are they going to finally, like, are they going to have sex or something like that? And
Mm-hmm.
then the only thing that you get is he whispers something in her, they kiss, goodbye, movie ends.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, no, like that's what you wanted, like the whole movie. But, you get that little bit of it at the end, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm satisfied with how
Yeah.
this ended. And, you know that it can't lead to anything, but it's one of those emotional connections that these two had that really brought them together. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
heartwarming.
you could see like when they first say their goodbyes, like it wasn't satisfying, and you knew it wasn't satisfying for them.
Hmm.
And then when he gets out of the taxi or whatever, and they go embrace each other and have that goodbye, and I want to know what he whispered
Same,
in
dude. It
his
drives me
ear.
crazy.
I have no idea
What did
what
you
he said,
say?
but you could tell after that, after they do that and they say goodbye and they have that moment, you could see that I it seems like they feel content
Hmm.
and like happy with how with that goodbye versus how it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I almost get the feeling that maybe they'll remain friends. I don't know. Like I like to think that like they might stay in touch or something, but maybe not. Maybe they'll never see each other or talk to each other again. But I did really like the ending, and it left me satisfied as well. It was good.
I loved the karaoke scene though. Like when I think
Yeah.
about the movie, especially when he's, singing more than this, and like she's looking at him,
Hmm.
you just see that connection start building right in that beginning right there. It's definitely gonna be one of those songs I listen to, or if I hear it, and be like, hey, I know what that's from. I like that. Bill Murray, you killed it. There was one thing that, like, when I was looking up about the movie, that I read, was that um the scene where they're eating sushi, they said that Bill Murray was improvising like pretty much like that whole interaction, and they're just
Oh,
talking
really?
about how, yeah,
Well, that's cool.
how majority of like the movie, there's a lot of times where he was improvising some scenes, and I feel like he did such a good job,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, he was
just
great.
being like a goofball, but also, being definitely serious and stuff.
Hmm.
It was a really enjoyable movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was good, and I really liked the um. Well, I liked the just the scenery, like in the hotel, and like looking out the windows, and like when they're out in the city,
Yeah.
and the music as well. Like um, there's there's a soundtrack of like so many songs that play during the movie, whether it's like during the karaoke or when they're driving or whatever. And then there's that one song. Uh, what's that song that when they go and it's like that strip club and they're like,
Oh
let's get
yeah.
out of here. It's that song is called "Fuck the Pain Away" by Peaches, and and it just was funny. And there's a lot of other good songs that play um, in the movie that I enjoyed, and it worked well. like with the tone, I thought.
Yeah, it's just this culture perspective that you're looking at where, you have Harakiri where you're looking at the samurai culture and like how they really stayed true to that, and then you're looking at this modern culture in Japan where, even when he goes, like when we were talking about the racial stereotypes, where he goes on that just to stay longer because he wanted to be there with Scarlett Johansson's character, he, does this talk show, this late night thing, and it's just so goofy and like
Oh
everything that's
yeah.
happening, like that's exactly like what you kind of, might see like in that culture. And the even when you were talking about how he has a conversation with his wife and stuff where he was like, when she asked him like, hey, how are you liking and stuff, and he was like, I want to eat more sushi and I want to be healthy, and she's like, okay, Bob, like whatever, you've changed already or something. And it's like, maybe he's having that midlife crisis, and I feel like you see that, in a lot of people's lives and stuff, so it's just a good perspective to see.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, both movies were great, and Palm Springs was a good movie as well. And
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed them all. Yeah, Palm Springs was good. Harakiri good, and Boston Translation was great. I was gonna for my rating. I don't think I rated it yet, like on Letterboxd. I wanted to talk to you first
oh
and
yeah,
think
what
about.
is your rating? Let's see, what is it?
Well, I was thinking at first. I was thinking I was gonna rate it a 4 out of 5, but I think after talking about it and thinking more about it, I think I'd give it 4.5.
I gave it a 4.5 as well.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. It's definitely a movie that I'm gonna watch again, and
Oh yeah, same.
I know that I'm gonna watch it again, and it's just one of those movies that just makes you, I don't know, made me feel good, and I liked it, and also Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson were amazing.
They need to make another movie together, unless they already have, but they definitely
What
need to.
what if they did a Lost in Translation 2
Oh yeah, where are
20,
they now?
20 years later?
Yeah, exactly. That'll be so funny.
I'd watch it.
So, what rating did you give Harakiri then?
5 stars.
I gave it 5 stars as well.
Yeah, I give Harakiri 5 stars. Yeah.
And then so for our next movies, for the film club, we are doing Amores Perros. That is by Alejandro Gonzalez.
Yep, that's his directorial debut, his first movie. Have you seen? I know I've asked you a million times. I know you haven't seen Birdman, but did you see The Revenant?
I have not.
Oh dang. Okay, so
I
it's
know. Yeah.
okay, cool. Because I've only seen before this movie. I've seen Birdman and The Revenant, and I love both those movies. I think they're great. Um, I'm excited to talk about his first movie, and I want to watch his other movies too, like Babel or whatever, Babel, 21 Grams. Um, but yeah, it's seems like an interesting movie, so it'll be fun to talk about it. And then you chose for your next movie The Usual Suspects,
Yep. By Brian Singer.
and I've never seen that movie either. So
And he, has done X-Men and
X-Men.
Bohemian Rhapsody and all those.
Mm-hmm.
So both good movies, and obviously those listening to the podcast, if you want to watch those movies throughout the week, and then next time we do the podcast, we'll be discussing these movies and we'll be able to have that discussion. So you won't have to avoid turning off the podcast and because of the spoilers that we'll be talking about. So,
Yeah.
well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or?
Mm, not really. Did you see something? I swear I saw something about them making a Batman series on HBO.
No, I did not hear about that.
I'm about to look it up real quick because so the Batman TV spinoff from Matt
Oh yeah.
Reeves set for HBO Max. So that's interesting Because it sounds like it's gonna be like, are they doing the movie and then there'll be like a series that's like a sequel series, or is the movie just a series, or is there not?
So it said
No.
that
I can't. There we go.
a lot of times you have these movies where they have the different universes, but this will be nice to have the similarities with this being like a police drama and you have the same universe with the Batman movie. So
Mm.
that will be nice.
Yeah, I'm interested for sure. Uh,
Police
sounds
drama.
sounds like it could be good. I don't know, but that's cool. HBO Max is doing a lot of cool things, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy. I'm happy with what they're doing.
Yeah, me too.
Disney Plus just needs to go a little bit faster with their content.
Yeah, agreed.
But with
Did
the
you watch
stuff that they
Artemis Fowl?
have, I what?
Have you watched Artemis Fowl?
No, I have not. And when I was looking at my list for 2020 and I was looking at movies that came out, I saw that I was like, nope, I'm not gonna. So sorry to those young listeners that are waiting for that review. It's probably gonna be one of those that I don't watch. So I apologize.
Yeah, I don't know if I can watch it. I almost want to just to see how bad it is, but I don't want to. I don't know if I want to put myself either. So, yeah.
Well, once again, this podcast is just us talking about movies and our thing, and we'll in our description we'll have our letterbox film club list, and we'll have our letterbox usernames, and we'll be posting this on Twitter, so you can follow us there for tweets or updates or anything. So, thanks for listening, and everybody, you have a great day.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.